Hi everyone, and welcome to the first official episode of my new podcast that I'm calling Surviving the Panic Years with me, Kirsten. Today's actually Valentine's Day, so I thought, what better day to start the podcast? We have a lot of things that we could talk about today. I am currently in New York City. New York and Valentine's Day just kind of go hand in hand, so that's already a depressing situation for me, being that I'm single. What tops it off is that I'm single, it's Valentine's Day, I'm in New York City, and I'm staying with my ex-girlfriend. There's a lot to unpack there. My girlfriend and I recently broke up, like almost 2 months ago now, and we just like never got to talk in person because we were long distance, obviously. I live in Canada, she lives here in New York, and like all my stuff is here because I don't really go out at home, so my wardrobe is here, like I have jackets, shoes. I have over 2 suitcases of stuff to haul back to Canada. So, you know, I was like, I'll give myself a week, we'll talk to each other, we'll try to reach some sort of like closure, I'll pack up my stuff, we'll say our goodbyes, and we'll go. And I don't know if this is just maybe a queer thing or like with girls, dating girls, but like this is the first time in a breakup where I don't like feel like I wanna like murder my ex. Like no deeply rooted and atrocious things went down between us. Like we can still keep it cordial, and we were friends before we started dating, so there's no reason that we can't, you know, rebuild some sort of friendship from now on. So yeah, it was just like the most common sense thing to do is just to stay with her and like pack everything up. But yeah, that's why I'm here. That's what I'm up to. But given that this chapter of my life is now coming to an end, I thought, and because it was Valentine's Day, what better way than to walk down memory lane and to just do a little recap. My Spotify Wrapped situation, except with dating, my dating life wrapped, if that makes sense. I've only really had 2 serious relationships, one from when I was like 16 to 18 and one when I was 18 until like 21. I had a baby with that relationship that ended when I was 21. My daughter is now 4. But like, these were the most toxic situations imaginable. I obviously, being like 16 years old when I was in my first relationship, like when you first get into that first relationship, that's your first understanding of like what you think it means to be in love and like what love looks like. And I, with both of my actual only like relationships with boys, like my boyfriends, they were both like bad, like typical bad boys. Like I don't know what it was with my Catholic high school, but it was just the ish to like date drug dealers or actual like F-boys, like pieces of shit, if that makes sense. That's just what the girlies were drawn to. And now that I've turned 25 just yesterday, you know, since I first started dating, have learned a lot about myself and maybe learned through experience what I do not want in a partner. And I've come a long way, I feel like, maturity-wise, and at least what I'm looking for in a relationship. But other than those 2 relationships, I've pretty much just like, in between those, been celibate, and time doesn't necessarily heal all wounds is what I've learned. You actually have to like really do the inner work and like reflect in order to heal. Otherwise, you're just gonna keep finding yourself in relationships that are like familiar to all your past mistakes. And that's what I've learned, even with now dating a woman, because I, for some reason, just thought that like it would be so much different dating a woman. But no, the partners you find, whether they're male or female, are always going to be kind of a reflection of what you've got going on inside yourself. So yeah, 2 first boyfriends, toxic situations. Then take it to July of 2022. I am done breastfeeding finally. I'm in a position where I can go on a vacation for like the first time in my adult life. July of 2022, I was 23 actually. I decided to go to Las Vegas with my girlfriends for the 4th of July. So we book a 4 or 5 day trip to Vegas, and on day 2, we go to Tao Beach Club, and we end up like just walking in, we weaseled our way, you know, into the VIP lineup, got let in somehow just by being like, oh yeah, like we have a table, like we're just going to meet up with our friends, and they're like, they let us through, it was fine, whatever. We just walk into the main kind of entryway of Tao Beach Club at the Venetian, and instantly security is like, to me and my 2 friends. This might have been pretty privilege, but I luckily don't think I had to do much of the work because we just stood there, and my one friend at the time was very much like, she's very much confident, almost conceited to a fault. But she was like, yeah, guys, like, don't worry. We'll just get in a booth and, like, obviously we can drink for free, have fun. That's pretty much what Vegas is, though. Like, when you're a girl, everything's free. We get pulled into this booth right away. It's these guys from New York. They say, hey, like, my name's blah, blah, blah. My name's blah, blah. We're from New York. Jump forward. Turns out they were actually from Brooklyn, not New York City. And that, to many people, might not be an important detail to disclose. But if you know a Brooklyn man, then you know why that might be important to disclose and why there might be a significant distinction between a guy from Manhattan versus the guy from Brooklyn. Anyway, not to be prejudiced. But we meet these Brooklyn guys. They're trying to put on the Ritz. You know, we're drinking. They have a big group of friends there, so they're not really bothering any of us. Like, we're just, like, drinking their liquor, flirting, whatever, splashing around, having a good old time. And I start talking to this one guy. We'll call him Brooklyn Mans. And Brooklyn Mans is talking to me, you know, as the pool party is wrapping up. He's like, do you want to come with me back to my hotel room? And I'm like, I just met you. Like, I'm not going to your hotel room. Like, you could be a psychopath. You could be a killer. Like, you're from America. I'm from Canada. So, like, you know, you Americans are dodgy folks sometimes. Like, I would prefer to get to know you before being alone in a room with you. And whatever you think is going to happen over there is not going to happen. So I'm going to go back to my hotel with my friends. Nice to meet you guys. Have a nice life sort of situation. And he's like, well, wait, like, let's exchange phone numbers. Like, maybe we can meet up and go to dinner. So I'm like, okay, fine. I give him my number. We go back to the hotel, we're texting. And like, for the next few days of that Vegas trip, like, we ended up running into them, even though we tried to avoid them, because I think they thought they flopped on us, but we flopped on them. Maybe we both flopped on each other. After the pool party, we both had plans. Like, they were like, oh yeah, like, you ladies wanna go to dinner? We're like, yeah, we wanna go to Carbone. We want the spicy rigatoni, we want the vodka pasta, like, take us to Carbone if you're offering. And they were like, yeah, like, totally, whatever. Saturday night comes around, we actually ended up doing something else. There was these YouTubers in town for one of, like, the fights, I don't know, MMA or boxing or whatever, and we ended up hanging out with those YouTubers that night, and, like, we were going rah this boom ba in XS nightclub, and, like, Josie Kinesco, or however you say it, like, that model that dated, I think, is it Jake Paul or Logan Paul? One of the Paul brothers, and, like, these YouTubers and, like, all these, like, Z-list celebrities are in there, and I'm feeling like, this is my 5 seconds of fame, like, yeah, I made it, you know? I'm literally a loser, because that's probably the first thing from the truth. But anyway, I was feeling myself, whatever. I was ignoring the Brooklyn man and just hoping, like, oh, this is awkward, but, like, oh well, you know, shit happens. We didn't end up hanging out that night. The next day rolls around, I think I texted him being like, oh my god, so sorry, we ended up just, like, going straight to bed. That was a lie, but obviously I wasn't about to tell him, like, hey, we blew you off, because we still wanted to hopefully try to go to Carbone. And then he ended up taking us that night. He took me and my 2 friends that I was with, plus his friends. We all go to Carbone. They ordered, like, the entire frickin' menu. He's, like, cutting me up a meatball the size of my face. He's like, you have to try the meatballs, in his little accent. All of that mixed with, like, the red wine we were drinking, or the 1942 was just going straight to my... That Brooklyn accent started to become music to my ears, which is repulsive now. I don't know why, but the accent just became, like, really freaking attractive to me. It kind of still is, but, like, given the trauma that I associate with, no, it's not attractive anymore. But long story short, we go to dinner, we end up hanging out, like, and we hung out again the next day, and then the next day they went home. But we never had sex or anything. Like, you can read between the lines what might have happened, other than, like, you know. But this guy, I was like, maybe I like him. Like, I don't know why, but Vegas has the tendency, now that I've been a few more times since then, like, you find a Vegas boyfriend when you go there sometimes. And, like, it's like a little fun little fling, but, like, you never think you're gonna see them again. Like, when I met him, did I make up a whole new personality about myself and, like, what I do for a living? Yeah, because that's just what girls do when they go to the bar. You, like, tell them a fake name, and they're like, what do you do? And it's just fun to make up a story and to, like, be someone else for the night. I don't know why, that probably speaks more to other issues I have inside of myself, but whatever, that's just what girls do, and it's fun. I thought I was never gonna see this guy again. But then when he went home, before my plane even landed home, he sent me a picture of his credit card and was like, I want to show you my city, like, come and book a flight that doesn't keep you in the airport for too long, like, I want to fly you out and, like, show you my city. I did, obviously, because I was freaking delusional. Did I know this man genuinely for more than maybe, like, 6-8 hours of my life? No. Did I get on that plane and stay with him at his house? Yes, I did. And from there, we ended up being in, like, a 3-month situationship that I thought was going to turn into a relationship, but I think he always knew what he wanted, and, like, he didn't really want labels or like commitments because he had just recently gotten out of a serious relationship. So like red flag for me. Like I really thought that it was gonna be something. Like no, I was clearly just like a rebound, fun time, whatever, and that's okay. And he was always honest about it. It was just like my delusional head that was like, no, I feel like you know, enough time, he'll decide that like he wants to commit to me, you know, like we'll be in a relationship. But that never happened. I just have this toxic trait of like, I've never really had casual flings like at any point. I've only had 2 serious relationships, and like other than that, I've never dabbled in anything casual or situationship like. But yeah, we ended up calling it like, I feel like it was like this 6-month or like maybe like a year-long thing. No, it was only like from July until September of 2022. And I remember my last trip to New York when he flew me out, like, I remember we were like talking about stuff in like the bedroom and like things that he was like suggesting that he wanted to try, something that might involve the back door. And I was like, no, like, no, that's not for me. Like I had told him that I'd never done it before. I've tried it. I've tried it to know that I haven't liked it before. So I obviously wasn't gonna let this guy just like think that he can have that. Cause I don't know, sex to me is like special. It means something. And like, I know I'm good at what I do. So like, you gotta earn a place in my life to be able to have the privilege of like having me and all that I bring to the table. You know what I mean? So I was like, you know, I sense things are like kind of rocky. Like, why would I let you do that? Why would I let you have that if we're just gonna go our separate ways? Like, no. But I was like, maybe I would consider it if like, you know, I was with a partner for like a really long time and I like genuinely had that like trust with them and like comfortability, but I don't feel like we have that. And then Brooklyn Man just started to like gaslight me and be like, no, like good thing we're gonna be married soon, and like was saying all these things, and obviously he was saying everything I wanted to hear, and like me being delusional, I was like, I'm not gonna believe you, but like I was eating it up. I was like, okay, fine, we'll do it, we'll try it. It ended traumatically, like traumatically. I was like crying in the bathtub. Like, I'm not gonna go in details, but like if you can imagine one of the worst things that could happen, like when you're doing that, like it wasn't crazy. I didn't like, nothing, like, I know what you're probably thinking. It wasn't anything like that, but I'm not gonna go into detail just for the sake of my parents might watch this. My mom actually knows the story. I told her in full detail and she like laughed while I was crying telling it to her. But anyway, he put it in my back door. Something traumatic happened. I was like, I just can't, you know, I just can't. And then I happened to have an open door helicopter tour of New York City scheduled for right after. Like, so whatever happened in the bedroom happened. It was so traumatizing. I like sat in the bathroom crying. He was like, get out, it's fine. Like, you know, like we're gonna have fun tonight. Like he was actually like a really good person about it. He actually like, I was surprised at how kind and like not weird he made it. Like he was very mature about what happened. And then we went on this open door helicopter ride of New York City, took these like couple pictures. We were holding hands at the helicopter. I'll insert some clips if I find them in my feral files. But then like after I had gotten home from that trip to New York, like the communication and stuff obviously just wasn't there. Like I wanted something and like he just could sense that like I wanted more than what he wanted. So he was very upfront and honest about it. And like when I couldn't take no for an answer, he just ghosted me, which like rightfully so. Cause like, I don't know why I've just tried to chase after people that one, aren't even good for me. Like 2, are not going to give me like what I want out of a relationship. But it's just like, obviously my damaged past and like my experience with love and relationships, I've never actually until recently taken the time to like reflect on it and like find out what's wrong with me and like my sort of anxious attachment style and like the deep roots of it that it caused me to seek out the people that I have and like the types of relationships that I've had. Because like, even though I was single for so long, time doesn't heal all wounds. That's what I've learned anyway. Like you actually have to really like reflect and like uncover things about yourself and work through them in order for you to avoid attracting similar people or similar relationships. Because until you actually do all that inner work, you're gonna keep finding yourself in situations with people that are like the same person of what you've had before, maybe just copy pasted in a different font. Like until you learn those lessons, you're gonna keep attracting the same types of people. And that's definitely what happened to me, even with like my most recent relationship, even though it was with a woman, like my ex-girlfriend, whose house I'm staying in. But yeah, basically in September, we had called it quits. Like he had ghosted me for a few months. I ended up getting really drunk around like New Year's Eve of January in 2023. And like I called him, F you for how you treated me, all this jazz, like just being a drunk slob, like pouring my heart out to this guy who probably was just like, what the frick, and like laughing at me. But no, he was like, you know, I've never meant you any harm, like, you know, it is what it is. Like, do you want, his favorite thing to tell me was like, do you want me to start lying to you, baby girl? And his like Brooklyn accent. I'm like, no, don't lie. Just like, why can't you give me what I want? Like, I was just very much damaged and like, pick me, you know? Ew. But he was like, you know what, like come fly out, like come back to New York, like we can have fun, bring a friend. So he paid for my friend and I to be flown out, and like they took us out for 3 days, showed us a good time, and like I kind of got to see him one last time and like really just like be like, it is what it is. Like I was able to come home and like not feel as distraught, because like from September until January I was literally like distraught over this. Like it really affected me on a deep level. I think mostly because of the rejection aspect, like how like you're not even the type of person that I want. You don't check off my checklist in its entirety or anywhere close to it, yet you're rejecting me. Like I think that was a lot of the reason why I was so hung up on it for so long. That, and just it really drains me when I actually let someone in, especially after everything I've been through. When I finally let someone in and it doesn't go well, like it just really hurts me and I kind of fester on it, which isn't healthy. But that's kind of what happened. But seeing him one last time, like knowing that was probably going to be the last time that I need to see him, or I'm going to see him, just kind of helped me in my mind get whatever sense of closure I needed to carry on with my life. But that trip, when I went out in January 2023, on one of those nights out, I happened to meet this girl who I ended up dating, and was the first girl I've ever dated, and that is the ex-girlfriend whose apartment I'm staying in right now. I know, call me messy Tessie. It's a weird full circle moment. But yeah, I met this girl. At the time she had a girlfriend who turns out was cheating on her for like a few months at that point. She obviously had a difficult situation of her own that she had just gotten out of, and she ended up eventually breaking up with her girlfriend in March, but like we remained friends from January onward. And then around June of this year, I went out to visit her because I was just like wanting to go do something fun, have fun in the summer. So I was like, can I come visit you? Like, we should just have like a fun girls weekend. Like, I think I only stayed for like 3 or 4 days. At that point, she had been broken up with her girlfriend for maybe 4 months. Look at me go. And again, like I don't know why I never think about these things, but I went with like actual no expectations. I didn't even really know like about myself and my sexuality as much as I do now. Like I had no idea that I would actually ever consider like dating a woman. I've always kind of made out with girls, especially when I'm drunk, but girls, if that's how it starts, you're gay. You might be gay. Just letting you know. If every time you get drunk you make out with your friends, or like you would make out with like man and woman, whatever, you've probably got a bit of wiggle room in your sexuality. It's probably not a straight rib, you know? And that's fine. It's 2024. But yeah, so in those 3 or 4 days, like it started off like fine. We were just friendly, doing whatever. She's gay. She's like full lesbian. I knew that before I came here. I knew that since I met her. And eventually one thing led to another when she was taking me on like a pub crawl or like a bar hopping thing to all her favorite cocktail bars in New York City. I ended up getting a little tipsy. We called one of my friends that I met through Brooklyn Mans, because he's a mutual of ours. He's the reason why my ex-girlfriend and I even met, because in that trip in January, he's the one who initiated this little get-together where I met her for the first time. So we call him, we're like, hey, look who's back. Like, just calling him to say hi. And basically I was like, yeah, she's my girlfriend now. Like, she's not your friend, she's mine. And then I think I went and I kissed Leslie. And then I think I caught Leslie off guard because she had sensed that I was like kind of putting like energy out there, that I was potentially maybe attracted to her. But like I made the first move, I kissed her. And then from then on, we kind of were just like in a fun little hot summer night, mid-July type in New York City. Like the feels were feeling, the vibes were vibing, and like we just kind of went with it. But this is where things took a plot twist. It was like 4th of July. We're on her rooftop because she lives in like a penthouse apartment. It's not like a crazy penthouse by the, you know, conventional sense of the word, but she has like a private rooftop, or like a semi-private rooftop, and we could see the fireworks from it. So we climbed to the very top of the rooftop, up the fire escape. We're on the roof, and the fireworks for 4th of July start going off. We didn't even know that they were gonna start. We were just up there already, like talking, like she was showing me around the roof, and all of a sudden the fireworks go off. And it was probably the single-handed most romantic like thing I've ever experienced. And we just start kissing, and the feels we're feeling. And when it was time for me to go home, I was kind of bean boozled. Like I was confused. I was like, okay, so this part of myself I've now realized exists. I feel very strongly for this girl, and I've never felt strongly for someone, like anyone, man or woman, like this before, or at least that's what I thought. And I like, for some reason, I just always need an answer. Like I need a label. Either we're not anything, or we're something. For some reason, maybe it's just because I have no experience with like casual interactions, but that's basically what I put out there for her. And I basically strong-armed her into agreeing, like, okay, yeah, like we can try this. Like we can see where this goes. Like we can be in a relationship, basically, sort of thing. So yeah, I basically, now that I'm looking back on it, kind of like forced that idea into the picture. But obviously everyone is their own agent of free will. Like she could have been like, no, like I'm fresh out of a relationship, I'm not healed yet, like I'm not ready. She didn't necessarily say those things either. So like she kind of fed into my delusion, which, you know, not to take away any accountability of my own, because I know I'm mostly to blame for like making the moves, making whatever happen. But yeah, from June of 2023 until like January of 2024, we found ourselves in a long distance relationship. And we are no longer dating, not because anything like totally despicable and terrible happened. Obviously, we're amicable. I'm staying in her house. But she never got the chance to fully heal from her relationship. So I think in a lot of ways I maybe helped her, like remind her that like, you know, there's good people out there, like you'll find love again even after like the severe hurt that she went through. And I think I helped build her back up to a place where she was able to now think about herself and like what she wants to do and like what she wants to explore with herself and her life. And a very specific topic came into discussion between the two of us that had stuff to do with posting things online, of like, you know, intimate things online, like i.e. your body, and sharing that. And I've always had like a very distinctive stance on the matter. Like I am a girl, so of all people, like I'm not gonna body shame her, or it's her body, her choice at the end of the day, is what I mean. Like she can take those pictures if that's what she wants, but just for me, I don't think that I could ever feel comfortable with my partner sharing something that I hold as sacred and like intimate, like very personal to myself. Because obviously your body and intimacy, like physical intimacy, is like an integral part of a relationship, and I think that that's supposed to be cherished. And I don't feel like it's as special to me as a person, me personally. Everyone can have their different opinions, but for me, I feel like it's not as special if you share it with everyone. Like if you're gonna share it with everyone, then why should it be special to me? You know what I mean? Maybe you don't, and that's fine. But I told her, like, with my values and my morals, and I know like how my parents view things and how I was raised, like that's just not something that I would be comfortable with. Like there's a difference between like a tasteful picture, you wearing a cute dress that's see-through with your booty out or whatever, versus like full-on content being posted of your body with like a sort of sexual appeal, with sexual intent, putting it out there to be seen by the masses. Like it just doesn't make me feel good when that's what my partner's doing. Like I would never condone it, because it just does, it causes me to have to sacrifice the things that I want and I feel like I deserve out of a partner and out of a relationship and a partnership. So we had a very distinct conversation about it. And over December and January, my mom was actually in the hospital for 7 weeks. Like my now ex-girlfriend, she knew everything that I was going through and struggling with. And I also have been kind of dealing with the oncoming of my quarter-life crisis for some time now. Like I said, I turned 25 yesterday, but since like 21, 22, I've really gone on like a roller coaster of like self-discovery, and like it's been really turbulent on my mental health in a lot of ways. And she knew exactly what I was going through, and I had told her that I was taking a break from social media, that I deleted all the apps off my phone because I would waste so much of my day consuming what everyone else is doing that like it would take away from my productivity. So she knew I wasn't going to be on my phone. I deleted all the apps off my phone. She took that time, despite the conversation that we had, to basically just start posting the seductive content that she was taking. Like while we were dating, she was having photo shoots of herself in lingerie and in like sex traps and like things. And I told her like, you're getting male photographers to come in and take these photos of yourself. Like for what reason? Like, and she had told me like, they're just for myself, like to help me feel more confident in my body. And I was, maybe I'm just delusional, but I was like, okay, like I told her every single time how I felt. Like that doesn't necessarily make me feel super comfortable, especially because like you didn't include me in a conversation or like tell me like, hey, I have this idea, I want to do this. Like you just announced it to me after you had already done it. And like, I feel like that's something that you would share with your partner. Maybe that's just what I expect out of a partner. And I'm fully entitled to want what I want. And I've always stood very firm in what I want. Like especially after what I've been through, I've gotten a lot better at like speaking my mind and communicating it. And I feel like that's a good thing. Like it's a good thing. You should always voice, you know, your feelings and your thoughts, especially in a relationship or what's meant to be a partnership. Like you're supposed to work through things together. But she had always kind of told me when we discussed these things, like, I don't respect your opinion. She's literally used those words. And that's kind of messed up now that I'm thinking about it, because you don't have to agree with someone, but I think it's always important to maintain a sort of level of respect and understand that people have their values because of what they've lived through, or that's part of who they are. Like you should always have respect for people's opinions. You just don't have to agree with them. Anyway, that's a different subject. But she had started posting this stuff. She was continuing with these photo shoots that I already wasn't comfortable with, and she had actually made the decision to like start posting pictures of herself that were, you know, fairly revealing, or like they were basically all of the things that we talked about that I said I wasn't going to be okay with. Doesn't matter how graphic or not graphic, it's the principle behind it for me personally. And so that was kind of like the cherry on top, and then like the final straw, I guess. I was like, clearly this isn't a partnership. You've made it clear that you don't respect my opinion, and I feel like I'm having to sacrifice a lot of what's important to me in order to keep this relationship afloat, or like to call this a relationship. Like it's only because I'm, you know, just making so many sacrifices. And also being long distance, I always did most of the traveling. She had come to Canada 2 times. She does have rent to pay at 2 apartments versus me. I just live at home. But she spends a lot of money on doing other things. Like there's that saying, if they wanted to, they would. And I don't think I've ever really just sat back and taken things for what they were and like let actions speak louder than words, because I let this go on for so long and I was doing a lot to try to make it work. Like I come out here, dating her has been different than me dating men. Like I've been on my own dime every time I fly out here. Yes, she does like to take care of me in other ways or pay for dinners and do things like that. But like I've taken up to 2 weeks off of work in a month to come out here and to be with her and, you know, pay for my own flights, pay for whatever else. Like there was a lot of time, money, and just love and effort that I put forth that was not equally reciprocated. And that's fine. It's fine for her to be in this phase of her life where she wants to discover herself and she wants these things for herself and she wants to do them. When I feel like you're in your 20s, whether it's early 20s, mid 20s, or late 20s, you go through that sort of self-discovery journey, and it's okay to have like a selfish era. I just felt like it wasn't okay for her to be, like it's okay for her to decide that that's what she wants to do, but it's not okay to also say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to expect this relationship to work. Because that's just not how it is. That's not really a relationship. That's not a partnership. If you're just doing whatever you want while expecting to get love and like whatever else from another person, it was just, I felt very like drained and like I was making a lot of sacrifices. So we ended things romantically for those reasons, basically, in January. We've remained in touch. I think we've only went like a full week, no contact. But until I landed in New York yesterday, I had not seen her since December 10th, which is the last day of my last trip when I was here. So it's been over 2 months now since we've seen each other, actually. And this is like our first time that we've gotten to talk in person. And a lot of you might be wondering, why are you staying for a week if you're just coming to grab your stuff and go? But I figured I would just come here. I'm staying with her because it's cheaper than paying $3,000 to stay in a hotel for a week. I'm packing up my stuff. We can try to have a week with each other to have these conversations in person, to stare at each other's eyes, get the closure that I feel like I can get through just knowing that, you know, it is what it is, was what it was. We were friends before we started dating, and maybe now, despite the disrespect and sort of mistreatment, maybe we can try to rebuild a friendship, because she has gotten to know my daughter, and she has at least expressed an interest in staying involved in my daughter's life in whatever ways that she can, even from afar. And like, I do have deep, deep love for her as a person, but you can love someone as a person and still know that people evolve, and things might not align romantically anymore. Like, we're just two girls in this world at the end of the day, in our 20s, just trying to figure out this crazy thing called life. That doesn't mean that there has to be bad blood or that you have to hate each other and not talk to each other. Like, I really don't have a good track record, but this has been the healthiest relationship that I've had so far. And I think it's better on my mental health not having things be so cutthroat, and like having minimal bad blood in a breakup, I think helps you kind of collect yourself and like get that closure, and like maybe be in a position to start working on yourself and be ready to get back out there sooner. Like, so I'm trying to just spend this week getting whatever closure I need, and also just having some me time. When Brooklyn Man and I stopped talking last year, I remember every single time I heard Empire State of Mind play, first of all, I would never hear that song, but then all of a sudden, every time I would get in my car, I'd be in the grocery store, at a nightclub, every single time I didn't want to hear that song, all I would hear was, in New York, and it would bring me such severe, crippling, debilitating PTSD that I'd be like, you know, I would just associate the words New York, like every movie, every TV show is based in New York, that stupid song that would play everywhere. Every time I heard the words New York, it like haunted me, and it like really affected me emotionally and mentally. So I'm just gonna try to rediscover the city on my own as a single girly, without having any sort of like fixed attachments or associations between New York and this person, or New York and that person. Like, I want to discover a New York just in Kirsten's eyes. New York, Kirsten's version, you know? So yeah, that is my plan. I know a lot of people that might follow me on social media, or that once used to be really close to me, they have a lot of strong opinions about me, and they're probably like, this girl's crazy, especially with my dating. Like, she's a loose cannon, like she's one day she's this, one day she's that. Like, I'm sure people are even like questioning me and like my sexuality, but luckily at the end of the day, that's none of their beeswax. And if my life and what I do brings you entertainment, or like if you feel like so invested in it that you have to talk about me, that's more about you than it does about me. And I've truthfully always pretty much been an open book. Like, I don't mind sharing things about myself or my life with anyone or the internet. So yeah, I just thought maybe if I'm going through this and I, you know, share it, maybe some of you guys can find comfort or entertainment, or, you know, comedic relief, whatever it might be, or just like hope for the future. That everyone in their 20s is kind of just really living through these years that they call the panic years. Everyone likes to act like they have it figured out, or some people really are getting married and having kids, and it's okay to not be there. It's okay to be lost. It's okay to think you have everything figured out and then realize that you actually want to start fresh and recreate yourself, or start up a new thing in school or a new career, whatever. Life is too short to like not do what makes you happy, to not stand up for yourself, for, you know, what you deserve. That's kind of just the energy that I'm trying to embrace this year in 2024. I want to learn to be more self-aware and just really learn when things are no longer serving me, and not waiting around anymore. Like, life's too short, like I said, for us to sit and fester in situations that are not aligning with our best interest. I hope you guys have a very happy Valentine's Day. Every day you should be loved and embraced to your fullest, so I think it's a silly holiday, but nonetheless, I hope you guys have a good one. I actually had plans to take myself out on a solo dinner date, like me, myself, and I, maybe vlog it, out for dinner solo on Valentine's Day in New York City. But it is freaking cutthroat to get a reservation out here, even on a random Tuesday, let alone Valentine's Day. Like, I might just end up at frickin' Joe's Pizza waiting in a 5-hour lineup to get a slice of za on my lonesome, maybe stop and get a bottle of red wine, come home, snuggle with my ex-girlfriend's dogs. So cheers to me turning 25. Cheers to me starting this podcast, and cheers to you guys for listening. I'm gonna probably invest in a better setup, a more permanent setup, and more high quality equipment, so I apologize if the audio is kind of shit. It will hopefully get better from here. But yeah, stay tuned for next episode. I plan to release new episodes every Tuesday. Bye!